All right, welcome back to We Talk Tech, everyone. No special guest today. Today is an episode that I've been looking forward to in a long time, and I know Ian has as well. Ian's finally got his flying wheelchair.
Right? Man, I'm so excited.
Close, close, right? I think the things that we talked about on your new chair, it almost sounds like a cockpit. So you're halfway there. You just need the wings eventually.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll try not to take any extreme jumps during this episode, but yeah, it is the closest thing I have had to a state of the art wheelchair. So I'm really excited to be in it and to share the journey with you because it's been a long process of getting everything set up so that I'm comfortable and able to be as independent as possible.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the tech, which is going to be a big part of this, because there's a lot of tech on your chair. Why don't we just run through that? So the process of getting a chair, um, where does it start? One day you just decide, I need an upgrade. Where does it all begin?
Yeah, so it starts with how long you've had your old chair for, if you've had a previous pair of wheelchairs. So I usually use a chair for about 10 years, and so this previous chair I had for around 11 at the time of submitting the request and it was old. Like the motors were starting to fail. The actuators that they use for positioning the wheelchair, like laying back and tilting and such, were starting to give me issues. And so I spoke with my occupational therapist. Shout out to John. Thank you so much. And I said, hey, like I think it's time, and he agreed. So we started working through the paperwork process for ministry approval, and I was very fortunate to be approved by the ministry for the majority of the chair funding. And then I also received funding for some of the extra features that aren't ministry covered, like elevating the chair and the feet, and being able to move the feet up and down. And those were covered by WorkBC's ATS program.
Okay, so those extra features typically aren't covered. Did you have them on your old chair, or are these new features for you?
I did. I had them on my old chair, and I think they were just changes in ministry funding over the years, unfortunately. But nonetheless, ATS saved the day because I really do need all of these functions just for range of motion, circulation. That my feet start to swell if my feet are elevated. The elevator to raise the chair up and down is great for business meetings to be able to raise the chair up for like a speaking engagement where I can actually see the audience. So all of these features are really important to me. But the ministry did cover the tilt function and the recline. So I can lay the chair back almost flat, which is pretty incredible. Which it's almost like a dentist chair, if you could say.
Right. Okay, so you submitted your request. You were obviously approved. I noticed you're back into another Permobil. So
Yes,
did you and John look at all different kinds of wheelchairs, or were you kind of set on the Permobil?
I love Permobil. I've had multiple Permobils over the years since I was in elementary school, going way back when. And there are a number of different styles of chairs, Permobil and others. I find that for me personally, Permobil are the most customized and feature focused, which is wonderful because we all know how much I love gizmos and gadgets and being able to do as much as possible. But there, even within the Permobil brand, there's a rear wheel, a mid wheel, and a front wheel. And I've always preferred front wheel personally. It's not for everybody. The turning radius isn't as good as a mid wheel, but I feel more stable in the front wheel. I find that the suspension is much better for me, and also for turning around corners, going in and out of hallways and such. It's my preferred method of driving.
Right. I guess it's really brand preference. I mean, I'm sure everybody has their preference. There's so many good wheelchair companies out there.
Yes.
And a lot of them do similar things. I think Permobil is one of the first that elevated, if I can remember. But
Yeah, I believe so. And I find like Permobil in Canada specifically, I find that they're usually the ones that have the most robust hardware, like their suspension and also their programming capabilities. I love I just love how I can work with a technician and try um, try to customize it to my needs, which we'll get into later on in this episode.
right. So the process, so you got the chair now, and we've been talking, meeting, doing these We Talk texts for a long time now. And I often saw that wheelchair sitting behind you. So
Yes,
the next step takes a while, it seems.
it does. So not only did I require funding for the wheelchair, and the special joystick, which is a Movis ultra sensitive micro joystick, but also the seating system. Right? As you can see, I'm kind of twisted like a pretzel here, and so I really need to have something that fits me, and there isn't any off the shelf seating system that will work for me. So I had to receive ministry funding for a custom seating system as well. So once all of that was approved, and then the chair was ordered, it showed up as a skeleton pretty much. And then a friend of mine, I have to give a shout out because he's been working with me for many years. His name is Spiro from Align Complex Rehab Technologies here in the Okanagan. And he's the one that started working with John, my occupational therapist, on customizing the seating system. And what we decided to do this time around was instead of molding a new seating system around me, we used the old system, the old seat and back, which was still working quite well, and made a mold of it, and that's a carbon copy. So that saved so much time and effort because, like some people don't realize when they're molding a custom system, seating system, they take almost like a bean bag and they place you in it and then they suck all the air out and that's the form. But for me, as soon as I'm sitting unsupported, I flop around like a wet noodle, and it's really hard for 3 or 4 people to hold me just right so that I have the balance to hold my head up and move my head around. If I'm off by a couple of degrees, my head will either flop forward or the side, and I lose that mobility. So that's really why we decided to just make a copy of the old seat and back, and it saved a lot of time and hassle for sure.
Well, you mentioned you obviously that custom seat. Um, Now, how unusual are you, Ian? Do most people get a custom seat, or do the ones kind of that come with the chairs often work?
It it really varies on how much uh, like upper body strength you have. Like I know a good friend of ours uses a roho cushion, which is just a number of air cells, and that like roho cushions and many others work fairly well for a number of our members. But because I'm so contorted, my hips aren't level, my body's veering over to the left. It's really, it's simply impossible for me to sit in anything else for long periods of time. And that's something that people really have to consider when they're having a seating system made, is that you're not just in it like a vehicle for maybe an hour or two a day or 5 hours on a long road trip. This is maybe 10 to 12 hours every single day for 10 years plus. It really has to fit properly.
Right. Right. So were you? Is there a lot of trial and error with these seats? So you're in it for a day, you're out of it for a week while things are getting fixed, that sort of thing?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Lots of transferring in and out, a lot of micro adjustments. Having Spiro and John come out multiple times. That I'm sure they'll laugh when they see this. I'm a diva. We all know how particular I am, and the slightest little imperfection in the seating system, I notice, and that can be extremely frustrating for everybody involved, including myself, because the first time and even the first probably a month or two that I sit in the new chair, it feels foreign, even though it's a carbon copy or as close as we can make it. It still is. It's just not exactly the same, and part of that is the foam density. Like over the years, my old system, the foam was compressed, and so it was more firm. You put me in a brand new cushy seat, and then I start sinking a little bit. Well, that can throw me off right there a few degrees, and then all of a sudden I can't hold my head up, or I can't move my arms, or my thumbs, I should say. So it's a very, very tedious process, I think. The seating portion of a custom chair, for me at least, is the part that I dread the most. And you just have to work with a team that's extremely patient and understanding, and is able to visualize how you were sitting in the old chair and how that compares to the new system.
Right. Right. Glad you've had the same OT for a while then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you're comfortable in your chair. Now it's time to control it,
Yes.
control your environment. So let's get into the tech. So we talk tech about this.
I love it.
Uh,
Okay.
so you mentioned working with a tech from Permobil or the wheelchair company to program your controls
Yes.
of the chair. But it's not just that, right? Like, sure, they can set the speed and acceleration and all that sort of stuff. Um, but you've got to be able to get to those controls. So there's custom controls there as well to drive your chair.
Yeah. So here, hold on one sec. I just need to use this section. You can cut this part, Chelsea.
I'll keep it in. It's going to be a long episode.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. For my driving controls, so I'm only able to move my thumbs, and I have a very limited range, and I can't. I have very minimal strength as well. I can't push very hard, and so what we've done, and I have to give my dad a huge shout out here because he was the mastermind that worked on a lot of this customization. But the joystick, I have these rockers as we call it, where my knuckles rest on platforms, and that supports my hands. And then there's a peg that I wrap my hand around, almost like you're driving a motorcycle, right? And so that keeps my hands secure. And then using bolsters to support my forearms, that keeps my hands in a position where my thumbs are floating essentially. And then my left thumb, I move the joystick. That's how I control the joystick. My right thumb, my dad can created some micro switches in an enclosure. So I have four micro switches, and two of them, or it's a pair or two pairs. Two of them are for the modes of the chair, like being able to adjust the seating, the speed, the infrared, etc. And then the other two are for a box that we call the Florida box, and we'll get to that in a bit. But it's really, again, it's a very tedious process getting my hands situated just properly so that I'm able to operate the joystick and the micro switches. But once it's dialed in, it's good for years. Like we sometimes maybe every 2 years when my muscles become weaker and I have less movement, we might have to adjust it by a millimeter or two. But that millimeter or two makes the world a difference.
Right. So your joystick, you had mentioned to me the other day that you got a little help from a friend of ours.
I did, yeah. So her friend Taylor, his company Mountain Dog Consulting, he designed and fabricated some 3D printed joystick tips, and that was great because the tip that or the two tips that came with the wheelchair, well, they didn't work for me. They were the wrong shape, and so we were able to send him a photo of my old joystick, and then he was able to replicate it, and then had a company overseas print a rubberized, textured, 3D printed tip that is absolutely phenomenal.
That's pretty cool. And you can obviously replace those at any time if you need to,
Yeah,
or if you ever need those micro adjustments, right? Taylor could probably adjust it slightly and print out something that's working better.
absolutely, and that's the best part is that it's really like as my condition progresses, there are changes that need to be made, and so and being able to work with Taylor and say, hey, can you angle it by 3 degrees? That honestly can be the difference between comfortably driving my chair on a daily basis to only being able to use it for a few hours and then being exhausted.
Right. Okay. Now the magic of your chair, it doesn't start here, but your right thumb. The number of things you can control on your chair with your right thumb.
Yes,
And this goes to not only the Florida box you're talking about, which you can explain to me, but also your dad and how involved he is with your chair, getting you set up and the whole tech portion. And you had sent over some pictures to me yesterday about your showing your chair and some videos of your chair and that sort of thing. But one of my favorite pictures that I saw that you sent over was a picture of your dad and all the wheelchair parts scattered all over and things he was working on. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I have to give another shout out to my dad. I'll probably give a third at the end here. But he spent so much time customizing this chair with me and just fabricating things that were off the shelf. And yes, there are other organizations that can assist with customization, like Tetra, for example. But really, to have somebody in house who's a retired engineer who loves fabricating, welding, designing. It was a 2 year process to get me into this chair, and that would have been probably a 3 or maybe even a 4 year process if he wasn't able to build so much for me. Like it was it always blows my mind. Like even as a kid, he would see me struggling with something, and then he would go into the shop, and the next day he would come out with something that made it easier and to allow me to be more independent, and that creativity is still here, as strong as ever. Just the switch box that I use, those 4 micro switches. So what he did, I have a video here we can bring up, but so he took 4 ultra sensitive micro switches and then made a Lexan enclosure so that it's as compact of a unit as possible, and then wired it to the chair and to the floor of the box, and with essentially 2 micro switches, I can do more than I've ever been able to do with a wheelchair. I can flip through the Permobil settings. So turning the chair on, going into mode, adjusting the seating system, controlling my TV and other infrared devices, adjusting the speed of the chair, the different profiles. So if I'm, let's say, outside and want to drive a little faster, I can have that profile. If I'm inside and want a little bit more maneuverability, then I have a setting for that. It's called chill, and then being able to turn on my headlights. This thing even has turn signals, which I've never had before, and hazard lights, which I don't know when I use them, but I'm sure the day will come. And then just everything else that you can do through the Omni 2 display on the chair is just incredible. And then the other micro switch connected to the floor of the box, which is my favorite. This is the thing that I absolutely love about this chair. A gentleman, Bill Benko, at 18 Makers in the States, he has helped me on a few projects now, but this is the most impressive to me. So what it is he purchased some relays just off of Amazon actually, and then he connected a microcontroller to it, and so these relays are able to turn on and off certain things on the chair. And on my old chair, the way we did it is I have a whole bunch of switches, and I was able to move my thumb from switch to switch, and that's how I controlled everything. But now that I'm getting weaker and I don't have that range to hit all these buttons, now I do everything through one switch. And so what I do is I have a light on my chair, just a simple LED that can change colors. And the longer I hold the button down for, the switch down for, the lights will start cycling. So from blue to red to green to orange, and then if it's on, let's say red, and then I let go of the switch, then it turns on red, which is the hand warmers. And these are again something my dad created. We took some heated steering wheel covers and he unstitched it to find the heating element, and then wrapped it around these pegs that my hands hold on to, and then also at the front of my cushion, right behind my knees. So when I turn it on, I get a blast of heat that I usually only keep on for about 3 minutes, and then my hands are nice and toasty, and then I can turn it off again. The Florida box also allows me to suction. So years ago, my dad and I created a device where it's a retractable straw that allows me to spit independently. So if I hold down that same micro switch and it goes to blue, and then I let go, it extends the straw, and then it turns on the suction machine provided by Prop and modified by possibly you or maybe one of the other biomeds.
One of the biomeds, yeah. Why don't you give us a quick demo of that? It's always cool to see your suction straw.
Okay, so I hold the switch. The light goes blue. I let go. I push the switch again, and it turns off, and the straw retracts. And this is so helpful. Like I love this thing. I've been using it for many years now, and it prior to this, I had to have a caregiver right beside me all the time, or have a microphone stand like off camera, and I would push a button with my foot to turn it on and off, and this is just so convenient having it with me and not having to worry about needing the suction, and it allows me to talk.
Lucky for us.
Lucky for you, I know.
So the hand warmers,
Yep.
the knee warmers, the suction straw. Did
Yes.
I miss anything there?
Yeah, so it also is my left click and right click. So the way I have it set up, there's a Bluetooth module in the Permobil wheelchair, which allows me to connect to multiple devices. So I can connect to my PC, my phone, my iPad, and I can flip through all of the different devices. And so right now I'm connected to my PC. But to left and right click, I use the same micro switch. So right now, if I just push the button or once, that's a left click. And then if I hold it down and the light cycles to orange, then that's a right click. So again, just trying to maximize independence with minimal effort, and I think we've accomplished it. And then it also turns on another box which has some ground effects lights that I don't have wired in yet, but I had so much fun with my ground effects in the old chair. I really wanted to bring those over to the new one as well. And these, these are even better that they're RGB LED strips. So I have an app on my phone that eventually I'll be able to control the color of the lights and the patterns just on the fly. So I'm pretty excited about that too.
It'll be color coded for all the holidays coming up. No, so that's seven. Ian, going through the specs with you a little bit on that Florida box.
Yeah.
There was one extra relay. I'm going to throw it out there to our viewers. If you got any ideas for Ian's last relay, give him a shout out. Let us know. What can Ian
Absolutely.
connect it to?
Yes. What else should we put on this show?
Sure, we can fit something on there.
Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty cool. The Florida box.
Yes.
Do you want to say something else?
I do, yeah. One of the highlights for me is because the Florida box has a microcontroller, a Raspberry Pi Pico, I believe. I can Bill programmed it. He wrote the code in Python of how everything will function. But the amazing part is that he gave me that code. Now I don't know if that was smart, and I don't know how to code Python. But what I did is I uploaded it into AI, into Cloud, and I said,
Of course you did.
of course, right? And I said, hey, this amazing code that a friend of mine made. Can we add some things? Like, can we have a 5 minute timeout on the hand warmers? So if I'm out and about, I turn them on. I don't even have to turn them off. They turn off automatically. And then for the suction, maybe I want the straw to come out. Then I want the suction machine to turn off. Like all these little micro adjustments that I've been able to make on my own, and then update the code, save it to the Florida box, and then reboot it, and it either works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, then I go back to my chat box and say, hey, this didn't work, and it usually says, of course, I see the error. Let me fix that for you. So that's been a lot of fun.
I hope Bill has a backup of the code.
You got
Um, yeah. Okay, let's move to the back of your chair because that kind of
okay.
involves prop a little bit more. So you got
Yes.
ventilators back there and the suction that you were talking about. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what's going on in the back of your chair?
Sure thing. Okay, so I have two converters on my chair, one of which powers the ventilator, and one of them powers the suction machine, which is amazing because there's nothing worse than running out of battery life in either of these devices when you're out and about. So everything is being charged or run off the wheelchair batteries, which means I can get at least a full day off of a charge. So in the back of my or on the back of my chair, my dad took full suction bags provided by Prop. Thank you, Prop. And they he stitched them all together into one giant bag. And so there's a pocket for the ventilator, there's a pocket for the suction machine, and then down below my emergency gear, like my ammu bagger in case the ventilator malfunctions, my suction kits, a spare tray tube, all the essentials that I bring with me everywhere I go, and then of course a pocket for sunglasses and other things of that
Of
nature.
course.
Yeah, of course. And the really cool thing that my dad did on this one, well, two things. One, I found in my old chair that my ventilator was overheating from time to time, especially if I was traveling somewhere tropical, where was it? Cambodia was the first time it overheated, and that really scared me. I didn't know what to do. I ran back into the vehicle and turned the air conditioning on. But we realized that it was an airflow issue. And so on this chair, he's cut out pockets or cut out holes and stitched in mesh so that now the ventilator has plenty of airflow. And then on top of that, we took a computer fan and put it in a little pouch beside the ventilator with just a standard lithium battery, like that you would charge your phone with, and that runs the fan to blow air into the intake so that it really cools it down on those hot summer days in the Okanagan. So that's been working extremely well. And then the suction machine having easy access so my caregivers can change the filters and the canister very regularly. What else is in there? The I know, the being able to tilt the chair back and have the bed stay level is really important, because the suction machine, the canister is full of liquid. And I noticed on my last chair, if I tilted back too far, then there was a risk of it damaging the suction machine. And we don't want that. So with this one, it's hinged from the top, or it pivots from the top, almost like a backpack. And so when I tilt back, the bag stays level, which is just a really cool added feature.
Yeah, I don't know if we've mentioned your dad, but you should probably thank him.
Man, I can't think of that. Like, some of the things that he would show me, some of his ideas, I was like, that is never going to work. I don't know what you're talking about. And then 2 days later, he has it in hand, all painted and ready to install. And like,
Right.
the man's a genius.
That's awesome. So I just wanted to step back. One thing you said triggered me. So um, you've got a lot of stuff being powered by your wheelchair batteries.
Yes.
And a lot of times when we talk about wiring ventilators to the wheelchair batteries, our members are often concerned, is it going to use up all my battery? Now, with everything you've got, not only your vent, your suction, everything else going on, all the electronics, do you ever run out of battery?
Well, not usually. No, like it's I take this chair. Well, I will be taking this chair everywhere, and I find as long as the batteries are a year or two old, they're usually fine. Maybe even 3 years if you can push it. But as long as you charge the chair every night, it's not usually an issue. No, and it, honestly, if I'm out and about and and I'm worried that I'm gonna be using too much power that day or that night, let's say I'm at a music festival, well, then I can unplug the suction machine and the ventilator so that they're running off of their internal batteries. And so
Right.
that's something I recommend to our viewers. On this chair, again, my dad did something really cool. He added some kill switches for the converters. So instead of having to physically unplug the ventilator, we can just flick a switch on the back, and it will disconnect
Right.
power to it. Just those little final touches that make it so extra special.
That's awesome. Uh, okay, anything else you wanted to mention about your chair? I think we've kind of gone through all the process, so much tech involved, but is there anything that, I mean, I know you're happy with the chair, you're in it and you're smiling.
Yes.
Is there anything you learned along the way in this new chair, or you've kind of been through this so many times?
Well, I'm getting up there in my age. I've been through a number of chairs over the years, and I think it's the big takeaway is be patient, because I know after a year, I was starting to have my doubts. Is this ever going to be completed? Is this ever going to feel comfortable? Am I at least going to have the mobility that I had in the last chair, if not more? And I think at the end, it always works out. And if it isn't fitting, if you're just you're having like pressure points, or you're just not happy with how it's sitting, or how you're sitting in it, be assertive and make sure that you do contact the OC and the seating company to make sure it does fit. Sure, there's things that you can get used to, but there's other points that just need to fit properly. It's like a glove. You have to wear it in a little bit, but it has to be the right size to begin with.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Be
and
persistent, be patient.
be patient. Yeah, it's like I I dread getting a new chair more than any other piece of equipment because it is so customized to me, and when it fits, it's great. When it doesn't, it doesn't work, and
Yeah,
that can be really annoying. The fun part for me with this was the final stages of programming. So Motion, who provided this wheelchair, thank you Motion, thank you Jarrett. They came out and connected it to a laptop and adjusted all of the torque settings and the speed and the limits for the tilt and the recline, just so that I didn't lay back too far, that I would get stuck, because the chair can flatten out far more than I can, and so that was, I think, the really exciting cherry on top, to be able to really dial it in to say, okay, this is my wheelchair. Like this is exactly how I want it to drive for me, and I really appreciate having that customization.
right, right. Well, Ian, thank you for sharing. I'm glad you're in your chair now. We don't have to look at it in the background, talking about how good it's going to be someday. It seems like it's working well for you. But thank you for sharing the process and running through all your tech with us. I hope our members come away with something. They learned something from this. Fantastic.
I hope they do, and I'll make sure to put links in the description of all the companies I've chatted about today, except for my dad. He's not accepting phone calls, but yeah, I think it's a lot of fun to be in it now. And if our viewers have any questions, send me an email, and I'd love to talk about maybe some things we can do to your wheelchair.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thanks, Ian.
Okay, thanks, Frank.
Bye bye.
What's that?
Didn't thank me, but that's okay.
Oh, my God, what is? And thank you, Rain, for all your support through this wheelchair process.